Welcome to the Money Talks for Beginners podcast. My name is Frankie Ho, a money nerd. Each week you'll hear me talk about different ways to use money more effectively in your daily life to become a smarter finance person. Thanks for spending your time with me today. Now let's talk about money. Welcome to the 18th episode of Money Talks for Beginners. Today we are going to talk about options. What are options? How do we use them? Is it a good idea or not to use options? Of course, I'm also going to give you guys some examples and some of my real life experience of using options and some of the rules that I should probably have followed myself when I first started using options, because it seriously made a pretty big dent on my financials, and I pretty much got a pretty, constant reflection or constant complaint from my fiance when I made a lot of mistakes when I started using options, because every time you lose money, you make mistakes in the financial or investment world, it means it costs money. So of course my fiance will complain about it. Thank God I still save up enough money to do other stuff and got a place with her and stuff like that. So that's great. But overall, I wish I had followed some of these rules that I should have followed myself. So I'm going to tell you guys some of these rules, and hopefully you guys can prevent, hopefully I can help you guys and prevent you guys who make some major mistakes too, like me. So first of all, let's talk about what are options. So first of all, options, you can think about options is like a contract that allows you to either have the right to buy an asset at a specific price within a purchase time period, if you are the one that are buying the options. Now, if you are selling the options, you want the opposite thing to happen. You have the obligation to meet the needs of the person who bought your options, which is of course means the option buyer. And if the option buyer decides to exercise, which means to choose to take action or actually choose to accept the contract condition, then you are obligated to do what was on the option. Essentially, so obviously most of the time you want to be opposite of what's happening. So an example of this would be the current price for Apple is on August 11th, 2021 is around $145. And you think Apple stock is going to go up. So you go to your brokerage or trading platform and look at the option table or option chain. So option chain or option table essentially is when you go to an option and then you go to the call option or the put option column, it'll have a list that comes down, and it'll also tells you like when's the expiry date, how many people are interested in this option, how many people bought this option already, or how many people sold this option is the opposite if you're an option seller, and how many people are thinking that will hit a certain point. Of course, you have to also know how to read charts before you go up. You should probably start then look at options, but that's just some of the things that what option tables are. Essentially, this tells you, it's like a list that comes down that tells you what are the price for each individual options and how many people are interested in that option and when it's expired. So now you would have noticed that there are many choices obviously to pick from for Apple, because it's a very popular stock. When it's usually a popular stock or a very common stock, or blue chip stocks, they usually have a lot of different options to either call or put options to pick from. Is normal. After you went over which one you want, you decided you want to buy the one for March 18th, 2022 with a strike price of $160. And it's a call option. So if you're the option buyer, if you buy the call option, you want the option to obviously, or the stock price to increase in value, to go up, because the more it goes up, the more your call option is worth. So if that's what happens when you're an option buyer. If it's at $145 now, you want the Apple share price or stock price to go up as close as possible to 160 at minimum and above. So then you can make a lot of money. Now, if you're the option seller, then it'll be opposite. You want the stock price to go down, because if the other person decides to actually exercise the stock, then you actually might have lost some money, because you would have been able to keep the stock at $160, but now you have to sell it to them at $145, so you might have lost money there. But usually for most people, there are more people that are option buyers, then option sellers. So after you decide to purchase the call option, the one that you think it makes most sense for you, you obtain the right to buy the Apple stock at the strike price. So for this example, it will be the option strike price will be $160. So if you decide to exercise it, you buy the option at the Apple share price at $160 for 100 shares. And then the price of the option, it will be of course on there, and it'll tell you when it's expired. Of course, you can decide what you want to do, and that's up to you. Just to also let you know, when you're buying an option, the option price, for example, if it say is like $5, you're not paying $5 for the option. You're paying $5 plus $100 plus any transaction costs, of course. Because each time when you buy an option, it's a multiple of 100. So when you say $5, it really means $500 plus any transaction fees when you're buying the options. So that's how you look at option, or what is an option. It's essentially just a contract between the buyer and the seller, and essentially the seller, the option seller who sold you that option, pretty much say, okay, I'm selling you this option or this contract that if you decide to buy it, I am obligated or legally obligated to make sure I meet the demands on that option contract. Think about it as pretty much like a contract that's on there. And then as the option buyer, you're vice versa. You bought the right to essentially, if you decide to exercise or take action for that option, that you can buy the specific stocks, or which, depending on what security you're buying, or ETF, at that price. But a lot of people, depending on what type of options you're buying, they might decide to just sell the option, because in terms of percentage for profit, it might be even more than just you exercising the option and then taking the profit. It might make more sense just to sell the option before the expiry date. So of course, now there's many different websites you can use to look at options. You can also some people might just go to Questrade or some Robinhood or Webull or any other platforms that has option service. They usually will have a chart that comes down, and that is what is an option chain or an option table. So it'll tell you the expiry date, how much it costs, the interest involved, how many people bought it. You should probably learn to read that and to look at that to see how's the price difference. And usually a lot of people usually buy around a specific range. So as I just mentioned, there are two main types of options: the call options and the put options. So a call option, essentially for the option buyer I'm talking about here, is when the buyer thinks that the stock price is going to go upward or to go up. And a put option for the option buyer or buyers is the opposite of call option. It's when the buyers think the stock price is going to go down. Another way to think about it, because it might be hard for you to remember when you first just started buying options, the easiest way to remember is by thinking back in the old days, or even now actually, really, when a phone call comes in, what do? You pick up the call. So that's a call option because you're picking it up. So you're obviously moving your hands upward or going down, picking the phone up in order to take the phone call. So that's how you remember call option, is you picking the phone call up. So you're pretty much raising, you could put your hands down, get the phone, and then pull it up. So then that's an upward motion. So that's how I remember what was a call option. Essentially, as an option buyer, you want the stock price or the security price of whatever's on the option as underlying assets to go up. And then when you're done from the phone call, what do? You put back you put back your phone into your pocket or purse if you're a girl. And then that's how you remember put options, because you're putting it down. So you want the stock price or security price to go down in order to make money as the option buyer. So as I already pretty sure I mentioned before already, the option table or chain will, as I say, it will obviously have the call and put option side. You'll know that there's a call side and there's a push side. Usually it'll show two separate sides when it comes up, or some of them will, when you go into your brokerage account or your trading account, it will tell you like, are you buying call or are you buying put? And then that one individual side will just come